Record.
Welcome to the November 11th governance discussion. We're going to kick it off by starting talking about the XDAI developments and the DXDAO, which has been, I think, redeployed. So, Ilan, do you want to kick us off with that?
Yeah, sure. So it has been redeployed. I'll send the link here once again. Like I said, in I think it was a business call yesterday, this is using ArcV1, so it is essentially it's near identical code base to DXgov and mainnet, meaning that the multi-generic scheme that we're developing right now will be able to go on this DAO as well. So that could be used also for testing purposes if we want to test new schemes and stuff like that. So yeah, that's that. Oh, thanks, Kai. And yeah, I think maybe like a question that we can ask is like, what could be the first competition? And like we kind of discussed yesterday, like Prime DAO has a meme competition ongoing with like $2,000 in awards, which just started. I think, yeah, I don't know. Maybe we can open it up with that.
Yeah, we just did a test transaction and moved one XDAI from the DXgov dev fund on mainnet across the bridge straight into the DAO, and it worked well. So that's great. We need to get we need XGen in the DAO, and so Elon, it would be good to know if the DAO stack Gen bridge can do that, and if not, I think we're going to have to use some other. We either need a multi-sig dev multi-sig on XDAI to use that to then turn it into XGen or get the XGen into the DAO, or we need a solution for that.
Yeah, and just to clarify, so because obviously to go through the bridge, right? So XDAI is a sidechain. So going through a bridge, Gen on mainnet, when it goes through a certain bridge to get to XDAI, it is then that Gen is like different on XDAI than a Gen that went through a different bridge. And I guess here we want to, is that accurate?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the DAO stack bridge basically deploys, it's the exact same token address as well. So when you use the DAO stack bridge, the XGen has the same token address, and then the DAO reads that token address.
When you say same as mainnet, you mean?
Exactly. Yeah. Same as mainnet.
So XGen from the DAO stack bridge uses the same token address on XDAI as Gen on mainnet, but that's different from the Omni bridge.
Yeah, the Omni bridge generates a different. It has, it generates basically a different XGen.
Yeah, the important thing in this scenario, though, is that most of the bridges, other than the main XDAI bridge by their team, has an alternate receiver option. So what we're doing is we're sending DAI from a multi-sig on mainnet, and we're sending it, and it's going to the DAO directly on XDAI, which is a different address. It's not the same address as the multi-sig, right? But in the other bridges, the Omni bridge and I believe DAO Stack's Gen bridge, you can only bridge to your same address on XDAI. So we don't have a scenario where we have the same address from a DAO or a multi-sig on both chains.
Because the dev fund multi-sig is not on XDAI.
Exactly. Yeah. You can't have a multi-sig on both chains with the same address. It's not possible.
So can I propose like a kind of like intermediary sort of centralized solution, and it's take 4 people from the multi-sig, each one of them will get 1/4 of the Gen, they will move it, and they will transfer it to the DAO on XDAI.
Why not just one dude who gets the XGen converted and send it to the XDAI DAO? Like, I don't think
that's even more centralized.
Yeah, but it's just one type of action. Like, if we split them, it's just more bureaucracy, more fakey. We just need to do that shit now.
I guess the concern, what's the risk here is that someone is responsible for funds from DXDAO from DXDAO mainnet that would then be put into
Yeah, and he would feel
XDA
them.
style. Like, I guess there wouldn't be, once the funds would be in there wouldn't be any centralization risk,
Yeah.
right?
It's someone taking that gen. I think, what was it? 4K gen?
The safest way to do it is, Elon, if you have extra XGen, send some XGen into the DAO on XDAI and then do a proposal and get reimbursed on.
Exactly.
That's the safest way to do, like.
That's fair.
We only need like a few thousand, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If it's more, we could do it, but I feel like that's a fine thing for someone like the front. I do also have some XGen that could be used, and yeah.
Yeah, in finance, it's called like delivery versus payment. Like you're basically there's no risk. Like when you're trading with a risky counterparty, you don't trust someone, make them pay first into the DAO, and then they can always ask for the money back.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I guess that's the best way.
It's kind of a cool multi-chain refund too, right? It's kind of like DXDAO rep holders like recognizing a transaction on another chain and then like deeming that valid, but wanting to refund like on a different chain.
We actually already do this with like, there are addresses on mainnet that will pay to renew the ENS names. And then they show the transaction, they ask for a reimbursement from the DAO, and then they get a reimbursement. So that's already happening.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's that. I guess, yeah, we can do that. I guess anyone who wants theoretically could send money to the XGen and then request that on mainnet.
And in theory, we could do that with, like, we talked about doing that with, you could do that with 10,000 DAI. If someone wanted to send 10,000 XDAI into the XDAI, like to get, or even on mainnet to do exchanges, like give DAI and get ETH in return.
Yeah.
I just happen to have some XDAI that I could do that with if we needed to.
$3.78 of XDAI, because that's what I got. What's left of the $4 that Augusto gave me?
I mean, the main issue with doing that with DAI is the DXDAO on mainnet doesn't have any DAI.
Well, you would get ETH in return.
That's a risky move.
Yeah, that's
the whole point is we're converting ETH into DAI. There's an exchange.
Wait, but we already have 10K in the dev wallet, no?
Yeah, but if we wanted like 100,000 DAI or something.
I think Sky is talking about like an interesting concept for DXDAO as a trustworthy financial institution. Because he's basically saying like, would you spend something and then on the faith that DXDAO would reimburse you, and even if it's like cross chain, and I think that's a cool thing to build up, but we don't always. That
could be the foundation for a mixer.
Well, it'd be trackable, right? Like you would see the transactions, I guess, right?
Yeah.
But for XDAI, XDXDAO, I knew that we needed to like install a bunch of new schemes in things to kind of have governance capabilities on before. Does that need to be done again, or are they kind of all?
No, so like I basically cloned the DAO from like the post governance decision. So post the reduction of parameters to all the schemes, basically, and post like adding the competition. So
cool. Is there anything we could do for like, or do we need to do for like Mesa or Omen that we could like, I don't know, like the token list? Do we need to add anything? I'm just trying to think about like ways to.
So we need to add
some
the generic
action on XDAI. The generic, okay.
Yeah, so this generic scheme with that. So just like on mainnet.
And I thought that like this might, like Swapper actually might be a good opportunity to try out some XDAI signaling, right? Like if we're looking to get some short-term like consensus or something, since that is a little bit tighter frame. So I don't know if there's anything we could do with that, even in just kind of the governance process as we iterate on different decisions.
I mean, I think it's super smart to actually try it on XDAI, just because you can test it on there, right? And it's the same, let's say, it's very similar code base, and you can test it with actual money, and like the governance parameters are shorter. So if it takes you 2 weeks to upload this to DXDAO, it takes you 1 week on XDXDAO, and then you can just get it going.
And Zed, I think it might be like it could be after we had the Telegram poll and we were looking for another like rep weighted signal. It might be, maybe that's an option next time when we were looking for another additional signal.
Yes, so I think that's that. Any ideas for competitions? I guess we can ask. We can do a poll like you did, Zet, on Telegram.
Yeah. Well, what should we ask?
I don't know, like a competition. Like which competition should we start with in DXDAO? A meme competition. I don't know. What's the DXDAO song? I want to start with like kind of silly, easy things, and then we can later move on to requests for proposals and stuff like that.
What about some good marketing designs like my Jolt ones, but for Swapper instead of Jolt?
Yeah, it could be like even we can pay, like this is something interesting, and I think we can pay for like quality marketing by publish a Medium article or somewhere else about why Swapper is more interesting than Uniswap. And you're paying basically for one or for two. You're paying for the top two people, but you're getting a lot more submissions, so you're getting like more than you actually paid for.
I mean, if we look at the poll we did, it only got like below 100 voters. I would try to do an announcement first on like Twitter, on Medium, and just I think because we have 2,000 people in the chat, but I don't think everyone is active there. We haven't really communicated so much. So I would rather like first go with some kind of announcement to just bring up the attention, and then I'll do some kind of competition. Otherwise, we just have like 10 people doing this. And I think if we should put any effort into this, it should be more than 10 at least.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. And I think I said this earlier in the week, like I think the naming scheme with the Telegram is a really great way to engage with the community. And so building on that foundation, I think would be good. But I think having like a little bit of a structure around what exactly we're looking for. And maybe it is just like a little announcement thing that we're doing. And around XDAI is a cool thing to brand it or associate it with.
Yeah.
Also like to not be dependent on Kleros regarding Omen, bringing Omen on XDAI. If we prioritize the audit for the arbitration contract for DXgov, we could like make sure Omen is installed on XDAI with DXgov as a main arbitrator first, and then we like add all the remaining parts from Kleros into Omen. So with that, I think we also need the token registry for the XDAI system. Nylon, do you know the state of the token registry now?
I think he said that, Elon, I think that we needed to wait for that, the generic scheme or something.
Oh, I mean, we just need to, if Omen is deployed on XDAI, you just need to add a generic scheme that, the target contract is Omen. Like it's the same as on mainnet, so.
No, they're like two tasks for us on XDAI. First, getting the arbitration contract connected, installed on XDAI, and the token registry. Sure, we could also hard code the currencies into Omen for XDAI, but why should we should install the token registry?
So I guess as soon as that's done, like you can govern it from DXi DAO.
Yeah, exactly. So can we add can we deploy the token registry today and add it as like a scheme?
Yeah.
Got it. All right.
I think DXDAO as an arbitrator on XDAI Omen is it's a good idea, because I think in general it's good for DXDAO to be able to do that in some cases, even as just a redundancy thing. And I think it kind of supports the idea of like XDAI being a experimentation place. And so if DXDAO were ever be an arbitrator on mainnet, it could, it has a history of production or ability to do that. So that's cool.
Yeah, and also in general, DCC1, one of the pro users of Omen, he's actually skeptical about Kleros being actually way better as an arbitrator or like a court compared to DXDAO, because we have way more at stake. It's our product, and if we fuck it up, it's way more punished for us compared to Kleros. They could we still don't know who's staking, and how there may be a cartel inside Kleros. It's still unproven, and by having us as an option and we can experiment, we can actually prove that we are maybe even a better arbitrator or oracle for Omen.
So the one thing with DXDAO being an arbitrator is, as we're seeing in the US elections right now, is if it's a contentious thing and it's 50-50, and DXDAO as an entity makes a decision on this is the answer to this market according to how rep holders vote on DXDAO to make this decision, 50% of the people are going to be pissed off, right? No matter what, if it's contentious. So all of a sudden, instead of it being on the Kleros system or the reality system, it's on DXDAO. They're 50% of people that just participate in Omen are I hate DXDAO. They chose to make that decision. And that kind of, right now we're a third party. We run this product on neutral protocols, and DXDAO can never be blamed. But once we do that, people will blame DXDAO for certain things, whether we like it or not,
I agree. But let's take the exact example with the presidential election. If DXDAO would be the arbitrator, we could, for example, have some more flexibility. For example, we could downstake the proposal to have to get 30 days more for waiting until we actually know the results of that. That's of course not always possible, but for that specific purpose, we could actually play around with pushing back the decision making for us until the correct answer is actually known.
Wow.
But for that specific, we know that that's an issue with reality.io. So there are thoughts about how to improve the way, if an outcome is not known on closing date, it should be possible to say we just all don't know the answer for that, and we should just wait, right? We should wait until the answer is known, of course with a specific global limit, because you can't push it back for all the time.
If that ability exists, then people will not do the I'm gonna bet on this being invalid, because they know that the DAO can wait. So it will
exactly
increase people betting on invalid. That's
exactly
good. Huh. Cool.
Yeah, I think the role of invalid markets is something that I'm just kind of understanding how that can have a negative effect on the end product user, and how are the incentives aligned to discourage that whenever possible. So cool. Well, that's XDI. Just moving along. Oh, I thought I heard. Was there someone that said something? No. Just moving around. I made an updated post, a little delayed, on the community rep boost round. I saw that Peppo's proposal is already in there. I've contacted Pulp, Machina, and Matt B, and then also Crypto Lamer, who's the kind of Russian person who's actually working on some more content now too. So I think that's going well. And then Sky has had a previous kind of guide for how to do the rep community boost, and so we'll hopefully be pushing those through. And just as an update, I always like to see the number of DXgov members, since we're now at 443 members, and then we now have over 1.4 million rep in circulation. So I think we're about it's like 100,000 rep in the last 6 weeks or so.
Yeah, I have reached out to the other receivers of rep boost, so everyone knows. The only one, DCC1, he's in like some village in Africa, and he says the internet sucks, so he might have to wait a month before he can submit his proposal.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's good. I mean, I think the important thing for us is like the the community, rep holders, is that we're encouraging that and kind of having the open hand. So hopefully they can do it. And then, yeah, just thinking of, be on the eye for kind of more people as more people get involved in the community. I just saw that status document, partnership document from Lorraine, which I think has been good, and she's been kind of involved. So hopefully we'll continue to kind of expand the rep distribution. Cool. And then just other proposal roundup, not too much going on. Some of the worker proposals, and I think there were just a couple of worker proposals, the audit proposal, and nothing too fancy there. I don't know if there's any of those that anyone wanted to talk about.
Yeah, there was some discussion in the, I don't know which chat it was, but some interesting ideas around how and when to do worker proposals, because everyone's kind of been doing it in different ways. I know some people, like Chris, I think your latest one was like, I'm working for the next 2 months. At the end of each of those months, I'm going to submit a proposal. That's great. Federico just did one similar to that, where he said, I'm going to do that, but at the end of each month, I'm going to use the average ETH price over the course of that month to use for my proposal. Because Chris, you may be, maybe you want to clarify it, but like you might be, if you're doing it at the end of the month, you like whether you get stuck with some crazy ETH price or not, who knows? So the average of a month for ETH price seems like a good idea that people can use to leverage. Historically, what people have been doing, and I explained in there, is I'm going to work for the next 2 months. I'm going to do a proposal at the start for half and a proposal at the end of the 2 months for the other half. That's the most typical one, I think. But I think it's okay if everyone does it slightly differently. It like mixes up timing on proposals and stuff. Or the other option would be to like everyone should be using the same system. I don't know if anyone has any thoughts on that.
Yeah, it was. I think the ETH price and the DAI thing, I think we need to figure that out. We talked about that last week. So I think that, hopefully we find a kind of medium or long-term solution to that, so that's not as much of a concern. And I think it's hard to have like a hard and fast rule on what people should do there. But I think kind of the broader points, the two broader points I'm taking from yours is kind of one, how does the congestion of worker proposals like kind of go through? How is that process to rep holders, right? Because if rep holders are voting on things, like what do they kind of look at on a consistent basis in terms of worker proposals, and like how are they coming in at just random times? And then second is the individual worker going through the same process to submit their worker proposals in terms of like when they're getting paid and like how long it is. So the worker compensation guidelines didn't really address this that much. And I think this is kind of one of those things that I think we need to kind of let things develop a little bit out in the wild and see what people are doing and what works, and then try to put like some structure on it in terms of like standards. Because I think for a lot of people, you know, coming into the community, it's like people just don't really know, right? It's like, well, like since there aren't any standards, then you have to think them up yourself, and that kind of just takes time. So I think we should kind of try to set precedent here for individuals, while also trying to like think about how the docket can be kind of congested for rep holders. So I don't know if people have ideas on kind of what maybe the standard worker proposal submission should look like.
From my perspective, I didn't know like the process, so I thought I knew, but apparently I did it wrong. I did it at the start of each month, because the first month, like you do the proposal, and in the proposal put in the payment, payout. So I thought, okay, next month is the same thing, naturally, because this is how I was told to do it. So that could work from the perspective of you writing something. You're writing what, like if first month, you can't say what happened last month because obviously you didn't work. So the first proposal, you say, I'm going to work on this, this, and that. These are my goals. And then on the next month, when you do your next month, you tell, okay, this is what happened last month, and those were my goals, and this is what I succeeded with, and this is what I'm going to do next, like the coming month. So by doing that, you always have this connection in between the first month and next month. If you do it in the end of the month instead, what could happen is you do two proposals, and that's like you talk basically about the same thing on both of the proposals. So maybe, I don't know, if it feels more natural to actually just, if you just forget about the payment, just about the status report about your working, it feels better to just talk about that each month instead.
Yeah, I think it's super important. The good thing about everyone creating their individual worker proposal is that everyone knows what the other person is working on and the goals and responsibility that it has that it's going to have for a specific time. I think the worker payments, it's a big chunk, maybe the only thing that DXgov has been spending money on, right? So I think it would make sense to start thinking about how we can automate this in a way where, for example, we can have a smart contract where you just, the DXgov add addresses that are going to receive payment each month, and depends the level that you are as your address. For example, let's say I, Augusto, I want to start working for DXgov, and this is going to be my responsibilities, my goals for the next 2 months. And I am added to this registry of workers that each month they are going to receive their payment. Even you can receive it on Ether, by executing one transaction, checking the price from an oracle, and you can receive it the instant price on Ether using a stablecoin oracle. Depends on how much you are going to be paid. We have a clear rule already on that. So there is a lot of things that here we can optimize. Most of our high percentage of the proposals are related to worker proposals. So it will be super interesting to see how we can keep this at the minimum, at least maybe have a smart contract where we just send funds, and this is going to be used for paying workers in the next following months. And the DXgov just agrees on which level the current worker is on. For example, the DXgov will create proposals to add one as a registered worker, and to, to promote a worker, or maybe to lower it down or to another level and saying how much time is going to be working. And from that, we can get on-chain, we can calculate, because we already agree on that, right? How much we are going to get paid. The thing that it won't be clear is, okay, what happened? We are saying on what we're working on every 2 months, So maybe we should find a way to communicate that, to make sure that the community understands on what is working each person, if they deliver what they did. Because they will, if not, they will need to be removed, right, from the registry. So, yeah.
Yeah, not only on automating it on chain, but I think the main issue is that no one knows exactly how to do it. And by having a very easy to use interface, which sets you boundaries, so you just like fill out some kind of form, and at the end, this form results into like a well-defined proposal. And with that well-defined form, everyone is using the exact same thing. So it will also much easier to audit like the proposal on chain, because the structure is exactly the same. Everyone is using the same form, and this will first like reduce any anxiety about like, am I doing it right? Because we just sent them a link and said like, fill out the form, say exactly how long you want to work, what are your goals, what are your responsibilities, press the button, make the proposal, and that's it. And everyone is using the same thing. So it's like so that's my vision. It's and I think
even more.
Yeah, is that just sure.
I'm applauding.
Yeah, we don't even need an app for that. I mean, it's like you can interact. We can create a form. You can interact with that as a smart contract level on Etherscan, because I mean, just the level and how much time you're going to be working on, claim your payment, and that's it. I mean, even though we can have it up, that is something that will be interesting. But I think that our first iteration, we can do it even on a worker registry where we interact by sending transaction through Etherscan. And it would be super interesting also to have like a metadata field for each worker, where if I enter the metadata of Chris, it's going to give me a link to the latest of his worker proposal, and I can see on what he's working currently, and maybe if it is outdated or not, and I can validate the work that Chris has done on DXgov. And if I see something that I think is wrong or that Chris didn't deliver on his goals, I can create a proposal on Alchemy to remove him from the current registry or change his status payment. So just change that.
I think the main anxiety, or not anxiety, but just like, I don't know how to do it, is because we just point them to some contract on Etherscan. Like, this is not how we should do it in general.
Yeah.
Like even I still don't, like, the vesting contract is complex. I get confused.
I'm helping Geronimo all the time with vesting.
I haven't done
Yeah, I don't know if Zet is going to talk about the same thing
I'm not going to do it. You know what? I'm not going to claim my DXgov. Fuck it.
Because I actually want to do that, and that was like a point on the contract, like more of.
It followed Augusto's template, which had an error in it, but it's actually not that hard.
Okay.
It's not that hard, guys. I mean, it's just a few minutes.
I'll make a new step-by-step that's clearer than Augusto's, and then if you follow it, I think you'll be able to do it.
Or you
also
could do
videos. guys, we are a blockchain DeFi, organization. So we should be able to add at least 3 dates on a form on Etherscan and make a call. Like, come on, it's not that hard.
It's not 3 dates though. It's a time. It's a number of seconds. You're adding a number of seconds.
Well, yeah, when it's timestamp, I mean, we should know about this stuff. This is what is used on the smart contracts. Yeah, I mean, anyway, we should know about this because this is part of our education that's working here. I think,
Yeah.
This is what Dan always say.
So I think I want to do the vesting DXD contract, and I have not done that. And I've said it in previous proposals that I will do that. So I will use that as an opportunity hopefully to kind of shed some more light on this. I'm just realizing also we talked about something similar last week with the DAI stuff, and I said I'd make a forum topic, but I've not done that. So I think we just need like a forum topic to go over some of these like larger compensation things that it's really just like worker, I mean, not to say HR, but it's like all of these kind of little things that we need to just get better at structuring here. But I think the DXD vesting is kind of is one we can do in the short term here.
I mean, our own, like the whole onboarding of DXDAO is pretty, like there's no onboarding. I know that, and like Federico knows that, and because everyone is like writing to each other and asking like, and no one dares to ask the stupid questions because you don't want to, like, we all smart in shit. So like no one dares to ask these simple questions like, how do you do this or how do you do that? And I was a victim of this, and I was so stressed. To be honest with you, I sometimes couldn't sleep because of like some of the stress shit. And this is real. I can be honest with this. I don't care if people like judge me, but that's the truth.
I'll just say, as someone who like now I write like I'm just like, oh, I'll do a proposal. I just vividly remember like having that proposal window open and just like, I think it was even just a Signal proposal, but I was just like so worried that I was like gonna mess something up. And then like obviously you do it and you get like more familiar with it, but that is a huge impediment to people like getting more involved. I think.
Like the thing is, it's not like when we talk about these issues or these problems, or we are talking about them like isolated stuff. When you onboard with DXgov, you have 100 of these stuff. You don't have like one thing. You have so much you don't understand. And I think just keep that in mind. Like, it's not one thing; it's a lot of these things, which makes it hard. Like, if it's just one thing, it's no big deal. So that's why I'm saying in the onboarding and like all the repeated tasks we do every month, we should automate them or remove them. This is like how I see it.
It would also be really nice for you to be able to go to the landing page or the website and see all the active workers, what they're doing, who they are, how much they're getting paid or whatever. Like, and
so Martin,
links to their worker proposals.
Just because Martin like asked when he was kind of wanting involved, he asked, is there a hierarchy? You said
it's a list, it's very, I agree, there are many, if you're like a blockchain pro, then maybe it's easy. And if I followed you sometimes, or the organization, then maybe if things going to work. But if somebody tries to onboard this, maybe not that technical, or should be some non-technical roles, then I think it's really strange to, I'm right now in this process to find out who is working on what and what are people doing, how is the system working, and
it's hard. I mean, I have trouble finding my own worker.
Not that hard, but it's hard. But
what I like about the
time to make it slow. If I have the time to make it like a slow start, I can have a look around. Then it's easy. But if you really need to hurry up, whatever reason you have, then it's not so easy.
What I like about the current onboarding process that doesn't exist or that is very hard is that it's a constant test about how hard you wanna be part of the organization, and it forces you to learn. And it forces you to learn. A lot of things that you need to know, So I think, check now, Seth and Federico, they are still here. Now they are working with us, and they learn a lot in the process, and now they know how it works. It could have been easier, yes, but they learn a lot, and now they are continue working with us, and they're going to still learn in the process. So
yeah, for sure, because you need people who can like manage this kind of structure, because it will not change. It will always be a little bit like this. Also, if you have more structured an onboarding process. So in a way, it's okay, because then you end up with people who can like manage this kind of
Yeah, I think with a lot of things, it's like a pendulum, though,
maybe
and
it's
like
too hard, you know, some kind, yeah, have like a list who is working on which project and who has which skills, and so would be quite helpful
yeah,
to start with. Because as if, yeah,
yeah.
so
I think the stuff on the website is something we should think about because I don't really know how we would do that, but I think that's even something not just like internally, but just in general. I think we need to have some way of conveying that in a way. Sky.
And also like it's, I don't think it's good to compare developers onboarding with every skill set else, because the way we kind of made sure that if any dev is going to come to Keybase and they introduce themselves, the first thing I'm doing is making sure I'm shilling the shit out of Omen so they join my Omen team, because we needed devs. Similar to John needed to make sure that people are excited about DXgov. And that's different with any other area for the DXDAO, like specifically like comments and marketing. Yeah, those people are kind of still solo player, right? And they're not like, yeah.
We need to start thinking competitively also. Like there's other DAOs out there, and there's some really good, smart developers and designers, marketers. Just like if we have a good onboarding and like one dev is talking to another one, and like if we just have some kind of structure about that, it could be also a really easy way to bring in someone and even test them for 1 or 2 months instead of having a full month of just onboarding. You could have that in like 1 week or 2 weeks.
well,
They don't need to think about the details.
people want to poke around.
Yeah.
Right. Like, how do you poke around? Like, what do we allow the people to like poke around versus like the only way that you can figure things out is if you go 0 to 60 in 5 seconds. I mean, I think Sky is true that, you know, this is like, it's not like anyone like sat in a room where like we should have really bad onboarding so that we can like only get like the most I don't know, the strongest or something. It's more of like, it's a reality of when like the decentralized collective is kind of like forming and trying to expand, because it's actually hard for 1 or 2 people to like speak for the rest of the group and kind of onboard in that way. But I think what we're doing now is kind of like all coming together and forming some consensus around it. But I think it's like a lot of things. It's like, sometimes it's like, this is part of the whole process. But I do like thinking of onboarding more as like pledging. So
maybe what would help is like a mentoring system, that you just assign somebody to people willing to onboard, and then it's clear that you have to ask them the question. Because for me now, I know the structure a little bit, but I don't know who I should ask.
Yeah, I totally agree. John and me had kind of the feeling.
It will make it easier, because then you have like a single point of contact in a way.
I do think we've gotten a little bit better in that, in the getting introductions and getting, I guess we have 2 different channels. Maybe that's not great, but they're introductions and getting started. But like, I think we kind of engage, and even when you came in, like, you know, we were kind of talking on that. I think it is more about like, yeah, how do we give people an idea of what's going on in a lot of different ways. We have like 10 minutes left here. So I just wanted to kind of switch a little bit to talk about Swapper governance process, just to go over what like for here on governance call in terms of like what proposals are needed to go through. We talked about this on the DXbiz call. So I guess like I kind of had 4 proposals that we're thinking that will kind of be, and one and is starting with Zet is kind of like anointing or approving the Swapper name change. And so that's kind of one. And then second, I think, is the Swapper factory address that we will have to approve. I don't know the words for these things. And then the third is like the ENS thing. And then I think just kind of going forward, we're gonna have to think about 2 other things just in terms of like governance for DXDAO governance for Swapper, and that's like DXDAO liquidity that's supplied. So we've already signaled about certain deposits that will be made into Swapper, and then the fee setting. So right now, of course, fee setting is done by DXDAO governance. And so just kind of wanting to get us started thinking about how we might want to like discuss these or figure these out, because launching Swapper does have kind of give some extra responsibility or obligations to DXDAO governance. So I guess like starting with like the fees, I guess if we wanted to change fees, what are the process for that? Because I think we should be kind of nimble, right? If we want to change fees in like a month, we should have a way of doing that. So. We need pruning, Sky. Channels need to be pruned, maybe.
Yeah, Chris, answering your question. To change the fees, we will need to make a proposal from the DXDAO, avatar address, which will be through Alchemy. Once we have the connection, once we can make a call to the DXSwap fee setter. The DXSwap fee setter will be able to change the swap fee from any pair and also to change the protocol fee. That's it. That's the only thing that the DXDAO will be able to do. And yeah, only that, because to take the fee, to claim the fee, that will be doing automatically from public functions. So yes, to change the fee, we will just need to be able to make a call. That I think that's on hold. That's directly depends on the multi-call integration of the scheme multi-call integration. So yeah.
Yeah, and so then I guess just creating a proposal from the avatar that would change the fee. So I guess just getting to start thinking about like, well, what would we need in terms of consensus to get to the point where the avatar is like submitting a proposal to change the fees. So I don't know if that's just something that we'll discuss in terms of if you want higher fees, lower fees, we'll do polls on forums, or if we have other ways of kind of getting signal. But I just think we should start thinking about the governance processes that come into like changing fees, at least for as long as DXDAO governance is kind of in charge of the pool fees, especially because we'll also like want to engage other projects who may have liquidity on the pools, right? And so maybe we kind of engage with them in a way to, I don't know, find some signal or consensus on that. But that should be another thing that we should be thinking about in terms of governance.
Yeah, the fee will be able to be changed in the future by the pair guilds that will be the pair that will be deciding the fees themselves. This should be enabled anyways by DXgov. Let's say that in 2 months from now on, we have the guilds feature integrated, and we will have to give also, how do we say, the power to change the fee to the DXD/ETH guild, to the DXD/DAI guild, to each pair for separate.
Then what will the process be for starting a guild, right? Because at the beginning, all pairs are controlled by the DAO, the DXDAO, right? So do we automatically start setting up the guilds for each one, or is there like some kind of a process for the LPs to request from the DXDAO to create the guild, right? Like, I mean, and this can be handled in the UI, but yeah, something to think about.
Well, and also because I think there'll be a long time before the UI has, like, we probably will change fees before it's available in the UI to the guild.
And even once the guilds are available in the UI, you have to set them up, right? Like they have to be, there needs to be a proposal for each one to the DXDAO, right, to like hand over the fee setting capability to that guild.
Yeah, I think that's kind of just the takeaway is like there's actually a good amount of governance work to be done with Swapper, obviously. That kind of it's something that's involved with it, but just thinking about how that evolves. Cool. Running up on the end of the hour now. If there was any other points, questions to bring up, Governance 2.0 meeting next Tuesday. I have trouble with my calendar invites. I think I just sent out the calendar invite about an hour ago. I tried to send it out yesterday, so that's going well. But anything else? Anything on the mind?
Maybe just regarding the staking contract we talked about. I think like some lightweight like front-end interface can be implemented. Like that's some lightweight application where you know basic just one form for the contract for you know for all the fields required. That could be made within a day, and like for non-technical people, they don't have to go on Etherscan and you know input every field like it is now.
That's the staking for what? The
DAO, for the DAO, you know, for the payout.
oh yeah.
I mean, we should do tools for the workers. Everything from calculating stuff. Like if we made we should just do some kind of form or like just simple basic, and then I think I could design this like in one day, literally, and then if someone
like one page with a form like that would do it, and it would you know connect to MetaMask and calls one contract, and like that is pretty easy to implement in the front end also. Like it's like a couple of hours basically.
We can start basic and then we do full on like worker tool set.
That form will connect to Alchemy, or it gives you the numbers and then you have to plug those into Alchemy?
Best thing is to connect to Alchemy, obviously.
No, it's not connecting to Alchemy. It's like I'm talking just deploying the contract, and then you just input that contract into the Alchemy. Like,
for vesting? For DXD?
Yeah, for vesting.
For vesting DXD, yeah. So we, right now you have to follow this template and do it yourself. We have a document that is outlining a way to make that whole process better, like have one vesting contract, but that needs to be built. So I don't know if we're gonna build like a workaround in the meantime, because in 2 months we might have like a whole new single contract vesting system, and that will have its own front end.
Okay.
Yeah, so right now, we're doing the individual DXD vesting contracts for each person. I don't know if it makes sense to build more on that because we might change it.
Yeah, didn't know that. Okay.
What's the new thing that we're gonna release? You said.
So like the whole vesting, the whole vesting program, you could have one single contract, because right now everyone makes their own contract every time, but you have one contract that people basically just call to create when needed, and then it gives you your address and you use that address in your proposal. But it's one contract managing all of the vesting for every worker for DXD instead of hundreds of different separate contracts. No one needs to deploy their own contract. They just need to tie into the one main contract. I'll send the doc for that in the governance channel.
Yeah. So where's the interface for this? Like it's still on Alchemy, right?
No, there will be a front end. It will be like part of the governance. You would interact with that in a front end, like on DX governance, DXgov or something.
Okay. Who's making this?
We're gonna we haven't shown it to BlockRocket yet, but we were gonna ask BlockRocket to look at it. But they're gonna need a design for the front end. Really, okay. Well, Augusto says there's a smart contract that has to be made, which is not apparently that difficult, which Augusto is familiar with, but we wanted to have someone else probably create it. and then there's going to need to be a front end and an easy design for that too. Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. Other parting thoughts or comments? I guess that's it.